And welcome to I Protest. This is Donald Jeffries coming to you from just outside the swamp-infested Washington, D.C., as we do every Friday at this time. My guest today is a very interesting guy, David Schmitt. He's very active on Substack, and that's where I encountered him. He's a biological researcher. He's done a lot of work on the Charlie Kirk assassination. He communicated with Derek Chauvin, the guy that famously put his knee on George Floyd in prison for quite a bit, so we can talk a little bit of that as well. We'll probably mostly talk about Charlie Kirk. David, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you, Don. It's a pleasure, and I guess it's a privilege for us to be speaking now on the very last day of America's first quarter millennium.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Wonder where we go now.
Where do we go now? Yeah, I was just writing about that on Substack. So yeah, it's happy birthday, I guess. I don't know what there is to celebrate at this point because we're not living up to it. But you have a much better educational background than I do. I mean, I'm a community college dropout. So I'm always amazed at how people get into these things. I've been a radical my entire life. I was never a normie. I was fighting the system when I was a little kid, certainly as a teenager. So how did you have an epiphany? Were you once a normal guy and then you strayed into our conspiratorial waters, or have you always been kind of a radical?
No, I don't know how to answer that. I considered going into the military, after high school, and I suppose I did begin to realize when I was in graduate school that I was not somebody who would thrive in institutions, and maybe we can talk about this later or some other time. This kind of spread from slave to employee to enterpriser. And really one of the points I hope we sometime can get to is as maybe an antidote to what we're suffering is encouraging enterprise, but both business enterprise and other types of enterprise, like academic enterprises or whatever. In other words, being able to be independent of system control. So anyway, I suppose I realized that, somewhere around, oh, by the way, so because it comes up, it's going to come up whenever you talk about Charlie Kirk eventually, although I do try to focus on the mechanisms of the assassination. Mm-hmm. But it will come up when people want to start talking about the whodunit. And so then you get into this whole thing about Semitism, anti-Semitism, etc. Mm-hmm. And to give lie to the idea that somehow someone with the last name Schmitt or that a Catholic or a European Gentile or something somehow has this genetic poison of the mind, that they are just naturally anti-Semitic. I mean, my background gives complete lie to that.
Sure.
I was actually maybe even in some ways still philo-Semitic. I worked around a lot of physicians and scientists who were Jewish. We communicate very well. There is a culture they have of intellectual communication, scientific, technical, etc. So I think that's bunk. But around 2009, I started reading things like Occidental Observer by Kevin MacDonald and so on. And it began to change my mind about things. Although even after that, I was organizing anti-Sharia law groups here in my state. And, I came across a lot of people who were very Zionist, and I suppose I was saluting the flag of defending Israel's right to exist, and probably does still have a right to exist. I don't know. That's disputable. We could tackle that someday. But the point I'm making is that it's not somehow that this is a anti-Semitic fruit of, some fruit, Okay.
Oh, of course not. Nobody in my audience is going to confuse you, accuse you of that. But so let's get, because so now it looks like you've done the most work on Charlie Kirk, and I'm gonna share. I don't know if you want me to share the screen yet for your Substack.
Oh, sure, you can. Yeah.
Okay, let's share it here. Okay. There it is. Okay. Okay, why isn't that sharing? Oh, share. Okay, there we go. Hope you guys can see that. Now we'll go up. There's a picture there, but this article is entitled, and it's relatively recent, May 30th. Conspiracy hypothesis was the shooter inside Charlie Kirk's head, and then you wanted to show this picture. So what's the significance of the picture that you wanted to show?
Yeah. So, what I wanted to do was bracket the possibilities here. In other words, I'm working from something that we lab bench guys or field scientist guys talk about a lot, is multiple working hypotheses. And that's kind of a self-discipline where you try to remain open-minded about all the different ideas, which is, you don't see it much on the internet, but you see a lot of ego attachment to various pet theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also like to try and keep the focus on this being a hypothesis, not a theory. Right? Theory is a pretty elaborate thing. A hypothesis is just like a single idea. And now, what gave me inspiration for this idea was a telephone conversation I had some years ago, early 2000s. A military contractor had called me. I knew him. We were friends. He called me and he asked me about the possibility of inserting a device into this sinus, and a sinus is a cavity, of course, a sinus in a bone. And at the time, he and I had talked about chipping animals and things, to track them, etc. So I thought of it in terms of radio chips, radio frequency ID chips, maybe for animals, or I don't know if it's a military application, maybe to track their own soldiers and find them if they were lost. So I really didn't explore why he wanted to know that. And I said, yeah, I could imagine. So it's part of the background maybe that's helpful for the listeners. Is I did teach cadaver anatomy, human cadaver anatomy. So, and I had to say, this was one of my favorite bones to teach about in the skull, was the sphenoid bone. It's kind of like the center chassis of the whole upper cranium. And so you could see there in that view, that greenish area, those are the cavities in the sphenoid bone. And there's an opening into the back of the nasal cavity. And you could approach that using a sort of a large syringe, or if it's, maybe a millimeter or more in diameter, you might even want to start calling it a trocar, when it's that size. But it could be advanced mechanically using a system like neurosurgeons use, a stereotactic system to keep things fixed in place and to identify where you're at. You could insert devices into that space, and then they could be cemented in. And that the cementing in would ensure that there would be absolutely no way to remove those safely without killing the subject. You just couldn't do it. Now, so when I talk about bracketing the possibilities, we have people. So the government says the shooter was on the Losey building with a 30-06, and that was the kill shot. Someone has, I think, suggested another idea, a shot from the upper right, the stairway area, It does look like there's some possibility that shot could come down through Charlie's right skull and then out through the left neck. Jason Goodman suggests a shot from above and behind.
Yeah, I know, Jay. Jason's been on this show before.
And then Chris Martinson suggests a shot from the right and above. Now he provides an elevation slightly above that which you would have from the Losey Center, and but when he or anyone else describes it using their hand motions, they usually show a very exaggerated angle, not the angle that he's providing, which would be much more towards her level, not much more above that from the Losey Center. So those are the shots from the exterior and around, and then the next level of hypotheses would be that of the microphone on Charlie's. On Charlie's left.
That's Candace Owens has been pushing that. Yeah.
Yeah, Candace Owens has been pushing that quite a bit recently, in just the recent last couple of weeks. And I had I looked at that microphone idea back last fall, and there was talk of the magnetic clip, and then I also couldn't quite understand why there was. Why it would have been designed that way, thinking that they meant that to go into the left chest. So it was unclear then, and maybe that's my fault, but I rejected it. So recently, I have been more open to that idea, although there are problems with it if you think about it, which is if it was intended to simulate a chest wound from a 30-06 from the Losey Center, number one, why was it a failure that it didn't cause a blood splatter on the white T-shirt? Was it merely fortuitous that they did wind up with a open wound on the left neck? That's a little bit of a difficulty with John Bray's hypothesis. And then John will say, well, this jet stream, it's like you could think of it as a bullet, a jet stream of hot gases and particulates from the shaped charge cone that creates a virtual bullet that goes into the chest. And sometimes he says, well, it sort of sealed up the wound, so that's why it didn't bleed. But then wouldn't it have been intended to cause bleeding? So I don't know how you can have it quite both ways. Okay, so that's some of that, those possibilities. And then this sphenoid bone, or what I call the skull bone kill switch, would be really the last possibility. I guess we're kind of excluding the possibility of the shot from the trapdoor underneath Charlie.
Well, we also have, I'm going to tell you right here, we already have I don't know if Jeff Rentz believes this, but Karen, I think that's Licky all over 25 cents. Good to see you here, Lick. It says, bullshit. Kirk was shot by a security team member from the front, a man in a brown plaid shirt with a palm missile. I think that's what Jeff Rentz and some other people believe. Are you aware of that theory?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I even have another Substack article about that shooter. I forgot, and forgive me, I forgot that. That's the brown shirt. This is the quote-unquote brown shirt man.
The brown shirt man, yeah.
He does act very suspicious before and after. His movements are timed and inexplicable, really, for somebody who would be part of the protective detail. Forgive me. I do think it is a possibility that he either had a pistol or an electronic activating device, either for a rifle or maybe this skull bone kill switch. So that he is, and what I wonder about is why so few people are talking about him, especially now that we're having this discovery process in the courtroom. He seems like a very central figure. Yes.
You'd think, wouldn't you? But I mean, with all this, because we're sitting there theorizing. You're trying to come up with theories, and Candace Owens, lots of people are. Jason Goodman, who White Wolf thinks is a shill. White Wolf thinks everybody's a shill. Jason's been on my show a couple of times. WW, give him a break. He did a great job with the empty hospitals during COVID, but it's because, again, once again, sold a false one. Everybody knows whatever happened, it wasn't what the FBI is telling you. Tyler Robinson didn't shoot this guy. It's absolutely, it's like Oswald. It's ridiculous.
Right.
So we're left with, we know a 30-06 would have done a lot more damage than that bullet did. The trajectory's off where it exited and where he was at. It makes no sense. So we're left to try to decide these things. So you can probably do a better job with your training than I can do. I mean, I really haven't theorized much, and I just keep concentrating on, we've been lied to. So whatever you talked about the discovery process, they've already, I mean, we know it's always rigged in these courtrooms every time, that. And so to think for once we're going to get the truth in these courtrooms, the judge has already refused the defense's request to cross-examine Lance Twiggs.
Right.
Is probably a key witness here who has become a government informant. And this was his transgender lover. And now, how can they not? I don't know what you think of that. But I mean, to me, it just, I think the fix is in. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't imagine we're going to ever get the truth out of an American courtroom.
I agree. And, I also have another Substack article. The first, I did it in September of last year, obviously. And I provided what I think, it was a little rough because I was responding to the cartoonist, the Dilbert cartoonist. What's his name?
Scott Adams?
Yeah, Scott Adams.
Yeah.
He asked a question on Twitter. Can anybody examine Alex Jones' idea that the bullet came in, took a right turn, went down, exploded the heart, came back up? So what I did was I just used a little bit of physics, right? So I looked up, I'm not a ballistics expert, but I looked up the bullet mass and the amount of charge it had, a range of charge it could have had. So you can do the physics on it. And by the way, those ballistic gels make great visuals. I'm going to talk about one of them that Martinson did, just posted yesterday or today. That's fantastic. But what I did was just physics. And the physics says that a projectile of that mass, right? So mass times velocity is momentum. And momentum is conserved. So if you say that the bullet hit him in the neck, and you say it did not go through, and evidently it didn't go through, if you say it didn't go through, that somehow whatever course it took in the body, it remained in the body, then either immediately or by small bits, it vectored that forward energy somehow, and his body would have been thrown backward violently. And that just did not happen. So the physics, even without watching ballistic gels, the physics tell you that did not happen, as they said. And if this does not come out in the trial, this, for anyone who knows physics, this should be a screaming case of mistrial, of corruption of justice.
Well, let's hope that for once, but I don't know. I don't know much about his attorneys, but typically in these cases, whether it's Lee Harvey Oswald didn't live to see it, his attorneys, James L. Ray, Sirhan later had good representation. James L. Ray had a horrible representation, down to the Boston bomber and the Aurora shooter and people like that. The fix is always in. There's never even a real trial. None of these questions are ever raised. And so, but this has gotten a lot of attention, so we'll see. But I don't like the fact that they wouldn't even let them cross-examine this Lance Twiggs character, who probably is, seems to me like he's involved. They had the text from him and everything, and then he became an informant. So it seems to me like he would be the person to question, but he's not even mentioned anymore in the media, in the mainstream, anyhow.
I wonder, Dawn, if there's any possibility, as in the case of the OKC Murrah building bombing, of forming a a citizen grand jury.
Yeah, I've had Charles Key. He's been on my show 2 or 3 times. He's still alive. That was the state representative that was instrumental in getting that formed, and a great guy. But they tried, and it's tough because they say a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, but if it's these kind of cases, they can't seem to indict anybody, and that would be great though. And I think that because of this has received so much more attention because it's not the JFK assassination, but it's in the same vein. And we didn't have Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and smaller podcasts like this back then. We didn't have Substack, so the questions are being raised which weren't being raised then. And to me, it's harder for them to cut. But I look and I see the MAGA people, especially, they're shutting down any dissent. And Erica Kirk and all these. We can talk about her. I mean, I've written so much on her. She's a walking psyop. But she's pushing this so much, and she's forgiven him and all this nonsense. And the MAGA people just aren't thinking. It's like I think they've turned off their critical thinking.
Yeah, Don, and also, if I could interject this. The whole use of the term MAGA, I mean, we could say that we're MAGA. I mean, it's a term used to, the far left really is licking its chops over being able to destroy MAGA, when in fact this event and the war in Iran, which is certainly connected to Charlie Kirk. Those are anti-MAGA events. So if anything, this is where the left and the MAGA actually fuse. They actually approach each other.
Do you see that Bronx Stomper says, I don't believe the exploding mic theory, but it is interesting that the brand of mic Charlie used was purchased by an Israeli company several months before he's killed. Did you know that? That's, you find Israel's hand everywhere here.
Yeah, it's, okay, let's mention some things that Chris Martenson presented today.
Okay.
He showed, he has done, I think, 6 trials with ballistic gel. I would love to do that, but I just don't have the pennies to pay for, several $100s of ballistic gel. But he has a torso mannequin just up through the neck. And there's a couple things I learned from his presentation, even though I still am suspect of this high down through the neck angle that he presents. But it does show that Charlie Kirk's shirt will expand, puff out in the front and back, just due to those deformations in the ballistic gel. So this sort of slightly counters John Bray's contention that puffing of the shirt could only occur from an exploding mic. The second thing that I saw in the Martenson video is this, I call it a toroidal. It's like a donut. It's like swelling that rises up through the neck. And again, Martenson doesn't have a head on these gels, but it at least shows that. Now, here is my point. And again, for your viewers and listeners, I'm not pushing strongly this skull bone kill switch. However, I do present it just because it helps focus and bracket everything else that we're trying to talk about. And you learn from every hypothesis that has some reasonability to it. Now, the thing is, I invite people to keep looking at them. What I see is Charlie's head, his face begin to wince and his head begin to deform. There's even a slow motion video that shows the deformation of his head from side to side, and another one in profile where you can see the back of his head, what I call the occipital parietal region. It bulges outward. Now, I find that difficult to imagine from an explosion of this shape charge in the chest proceeding up into the head. I can't say that it's impossible, but I do find that difficult, and I think that there appears to be damage in Charlie's head before anything else. And let's face it, if this is an electronic kill that is using a microphone, they certainly could have a skull bone kill switch also linked to that at the same time, just to ensure absolute neutralization of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, no, I mean it's very similar to the Kennedy assassination, where theories evolved because the official story was so ridiculous, and everybody understood that. Everybody that looked at it realized, okay, we know Oswald didn't do it. This is impossible. So what happened? It's the same kind of thing here. I mean, it's not to the degree. We don't have as much information on it as we do about the JFK assassination, but we know that the theory makes no sense. The weapon couldn't have been what they said it was. It would have done way more damage. There apparently wasn't an exit wound, and you're talking about it hit his neck, and then they had the whole nonsense with the surgeon that apparently Erica Kirk and one of the aides contrived, just made up that he had a neck of steel and tried to present him as some kind of like a Superman nonsense. And the surgeon has admitted that, and it didn't affect the way the people look at Erica Kirk at all. And neither did her crying, I forgive him and all that kind of nonsense. But she insists he's guilty and doesn't want any. I mean, this is what makes no sense. And we run into this a lot. Families, Seth Rich's family will sue you if you talk about it. But Martin Luther King's family did want to find out who killed. Dexter King went and visited James Earl Ray. Coretta Scott King went and testified for him to get a new trial when she was very old, went out of state. So they were profiles in courage. But this is just ridiculous to shut down inquiry and say that it makes I'm just a goy, says Erica's a lizard. Well, I don't know what the hell she is, but she's not what she appears to be. So what do you think of all that? I mean, your impressions, you must, looking into this, Erica Kirk is kind of there front and center. She's not Jackie Kennedy, just staying in the background and not saying anything. She's right there front and center. And a lot of this has to do with her, where if you attack the official story, they think you're attacking her.
Well, by the way, let me just show you this. After publishing this article, let me show you something that I received in the mail. From the desk of Erica Kirk.
Oh, wow. Cool.
4 days afterwards. And by the way, this comes on, what do you call it? Nonprofit mail. And so they don't have to frank the letter. So I don't know where it came from. I don't even know if they didn't just drop it in my local post office box. One way to look at it is a coincidence, of course. And the other way is this is just wherever they sent it from.
Well, what does the letter say?
Just a little, we know where you live reminder.
Hmm.
And do you notice that there was that fella on Substack, Candace Owens fan. He had a Substack, and he would summarize. It was very helpful, very helpful. He would summarize her video podcast, and all of a sudden he said, "I can no longer stand with Candace Owens," and he just quit. Now, was he doing that under duress? I don't know.
So is his material still up, or did he remove it all?
Well, he's doing other things.
Wow. So wow. I guess they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. That's odd. He didn't explain why. I mean, that reminds me of people were talking the other day. I was talking about they had a picture of Gary Oldman on the actor with a couple of with Oswald's daughters, one of whom I'm communicated with several times, but I don't think I'll ever get on the show. But And I said, Gary Oldman, I love JFK. I love his portrayal. But after the movie, years after it, he suddenly said he thought Oswald did it. It's like, what? How could you possibly play that role and do the research and think that? Of course, he never explained it. And people just kind of nodded. So I don't know. I mean, in that case, he didn't need money, but somebody made him an offer he couldn't refuse. So this Substack guy, I'm sure it might be easier to make him an offer.
And, you were mentioning the JFK event and the conspiratorial nature of it. Do you recall Lyndon Johnson's? I think it was his last interview. He's sort of sitting on the left, on his left arm on the couch.
Yeah.
And he says, I do believe that there was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
No kidding. I'm glad you got it off your chest, Elder.
Yeah. Well, I didn't pay any much attention to anything he said. I mean, because he was front and center in the middle of all that. He had foreknowledge. I mean, these I think they were planned way above his level, but he certainly approved. Yeah. And was happy to benefit from it. As Nixon said later when somebody said something to him about it, he goes, I wanted to be president too, but not bad enough to kill for it, something like that. So, but I don't think he killed, but I mean, he was, and in this case, the obvious that we're looking at, we had to speculate, but the only thing, and I didn't know much about Charlie Kirk really at all. I had seen a few of his videos at the colleges and the kind of the shtick he had where, prove me wrong and interesting.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting, but when he was shot, I was kind of shocked at how big a deal they made of it. And then I didn't realize Turning Point USA was that big. And then I started to learn from Candace Owens and people that he really had changed he was changing his views on Zionism. I mean, they got tons of videos and audios of him out there saying that. Interviews with him, with Shapiro and people like that. And yet the TPUSA will continue to maintain, no, that's not true. It's again, we can see the evidence, dude. A video is worth a million words, but I don't know what your thoughts on that. I mean, it just seems to me the only thing that changed in his life before he was shot was his attitude towards Israel.
Well, that's right. And there's so much evidence for it, especially that Patrick Ben David interview. I think that nails it. And the other thing that I couldn't even watch it was that funeral fandango thing with the sparklers and
yes.
Come on, when has that ever happened in history? Ever?
That's where people started being suspicious of Erica Kirk. I mean, what do you want people to think? And then Candace Owens finds so many incriminating things, but she found the video of Erica Kirk 6 days after he was killed, smiling and laughing and giddy about all the merchandise they'd sold and talking about, we planned the event of the century. She looks as happy as can be. I mean, what do you expect people to think?
Yeah. There is one thing, maybe just as our public service donation for the day. I know it keeps getting said over and over again, but I even heard Candace Owens use the word in this sense 2 weeks ago, when she was referring to the fragments of what we presume are the microphone. It looks like it is in the SUV.
Right.
And she says, see, this is evidence. This is not conspiracy. Well, my God, Candace, please get a dictionary. If you want to say anything, you want to say that this proves that it is a conspiracy. People use the word conspiracy in some kind of twisted definition, meaning something unbelievable and disreputable and to be disparaged, like, I don't know, goblins or something, I mean, please, conspiracy is like the basis of much of federal crime is about conspiracies. So, I mean, please, people, conspiracy is a real thing, and people who are investigating conspiracies are doing real work, space aliens and hairy men in the woods, what do you call them, Bigfoot. Okay, that has nothing to do with conspiracies.
Right.
Okay,
They like
that
to lump
doesn't
it
fall
together.
in
Yeah.
that category. Yeah. Okay, I'll shut up on that.
No, that's fine. And they like to lump everything together, obviously. But so when you look at the story is absurd. I mean, and then you have him, going up to the somehow not being noticed by anybody, even though again, what's forgotten is that Kash Patel and the FBI bragged that they had him under surveillance the entire time. So so when you saw him go up to the roof of the building and you saw him assembling a gun, you didn't. He just let that happen. It's like, how dumb do they think? But again, people don't question it.
Well, maybe. I mean, if you're open to it, and if your listeners seem to enjoy it, and we get to do this again, there are a number of things I think you and I can start to talk about that will potentially help stop this. In other words, I think we can come up with an improved nation, an improved mode of citizenship. One thing we really do need is a clearinghouse of record.
Mm-hmm.
Where we can find, and maybe you and I can talk about this offline. We need a place where the most recent evidence, such as it is, can be posted, listed, and references and YouTube links, etc. Because I mean, some people, Candace, I guess, and this fella Trigger Smart, others, maybe Jason Goodman, these people have systems and means of support that some of us who are more on the periphery, don't have available. So it would just be nice to have the archive or library where this kind of stuff can be gotten by anybody,
sure.
including Tyler Robinson's defense lawyer.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, essentially a database. But JFK assassination, we have databases for like Harold Weisberg donated all his materials, so it's Hood College database. Mary Farrell has a Mary Farrell database. It would be something like that, but it would have to. I mean, Candace Owens or somebody. I don't know who's getting most of this evidence because she does a lot of investigation, but she gets tips from people, and I'm not sure, beyond that. And she's really the only one doing this that I know of. I choose, and a lot of it is kind of at the same time, simultaneously, her investigation of Erica Kirkatz, which I think kind of goes along with it, and nobody else is doing that. And she's caught a lot of hell for it. I mean, other people have kind of copied her in the Erica Kirk thing, but in terms of investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination itself, she was the one doing it that had a big audience. And that's when I first started watching her. I said, okay, this is, she's because it's right up my alley with JFK. But when you learn the stories, of nobody noticing him, going up on the building, assembling and reassembling. I'm no gun guy, but I understand a Mauser is very difficult to assemble and reassemble. Doing it multiple times, jumping off the building, John Wilkes Booth style, walking into the woods, and then apparently taking the gun apart again and putting it in a box. I mean, just ridiculous stuff that makes no sense, not drawing any attention. And then you had the guy, David, I forget the guy's name, but he was apparently at scenes of other things like 9/11 and maybe some other that suddenly starts shouting, I did it, and gets himself arrested. And that guy was David's, I can't remember his name. Maybe somebody in the chat knows.
The last name is Zinn, Zinn.
Zinn, yes, David Zinn. That's it. Yeah, Zinn. Or George. Was it George Zinn or David Zinn?
George, I think.
George Zinn, yeah. So that, I mean, to me, what was that about? Is he going to be called at the trial in question? I doubt it.
Well, see, immediately in the emergency room, he said, I have pornographic images on my phone. And so that precludes any further disclosure about Mr. Zinn. See how brilliant that worked?
Yeah, and it's just
I mean, it all does look designed, right?
Sure.
And James Lee, I think this fellow James Lee has done really good work too.
Yes, he's good, James Lee. He works with Jimmy Dore a lot. Yeah, and it's he I don't know if I guess he's done Erica Kirk more than that, but this is a kind, again, it reminds me a lot of what we saw with the JFK researchers, the citizens, because it's just, these are just citizens. Candace Owens is bigger than, since she's, I don't know what she is, but somebody behind her making her as powerful as she is, but she's doing real investigative journalism here, and nobody else is, and it just gets me to the way the right wing, and it's the same kind of thing. I don't know how you feel about the attempts on Trump, especially the last one at the White House Correspondents Center. I wrote about that, but I mean, very, very dubious. And but it's the same mindset, and those people that they believe the official story of those ridiculous events, and there's tons of questions. Many people, and I've got people in the chat that already have. You've got a lot of people that think Charlie Kirk wasn't shot, that it was fake. What are your thoughts on that? Because again, there's people, they know they're being lied to. So what are your thoughts on the people that think he wasn't even shot, that it was a fake?
Well, people find scientists frustrating in this regard. So, but it really is, I believe, the right way to proceed. I don't have the ability to subpoena, investigate, etc. So all I can say is, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's possible that he could be alive. So I'm willing to put it up there in that periodic table, if you will, of hypotheses.
Yeah.
About what happened. Remember how the periodic table worked, Dawn? I mean, long before the chemists.
Vaguely, I did not do well in science in school. I vaguely remember.
That's okay. You'll get it right now. Look, long before the chemists knew what fit in all those boxes, they had the periodic table that told them what should fit there, what weight it should be, what atomic weight, how many electrons, etc. And it led them in their search. That's what these multiple hypotheses do. They fill in these boxes and they tell us, there's something that could be here. There's something that could fit here in this box. And so, yes, that is possible. And it could be that he's living on some island called Valhalla near New Zealand. Suppose. Please, I mean, let's keep working on that if you think that's true. And I mean, I can be convinced, just like I was able to be convinced by John Bray's microphone hypothesis.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you look at the other recent events, a lot of the school shootings and a lot of these mass shooting events, a lot of questionable elements. Now, Candace Owens actually played a little. I've got to look. I got her name written down somewhere, Taylor Jewell or something. But the Charlie Kirk assassination, and it reminds me of what we saw in Sandy Hook, Boston bombing, Parkland, all these shootings. Lots of witnesses that seemed to have an uncharacteristic expression on their face, seemed kind of happy. And in this case, there's a blonde-haired woman. There are three women. I don't know if you've seen if I could find it somewhere, I'd put it up. But she is giddy. She can't stop smiling when she's talking to, and she of course she. But Candace concentrated on her saying he was shot in the chest, which he obviously wasn't.
And then she changes her tune later.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Then she changes her tune later.
Yes, she changed her tune, but to me, the most alarming thing about it was that smile.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you? What are you smiling for? I mean, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
But we see it in and I understand everybody reacts differently. And that kind of goes into the Erica Kirk thing. Everybody grieves differently, but nobody grieves by putting on a flashy outfit and having fireworks and that's ridiculous.
Look, yeah, there is a range of responses, and some of those responses probably require psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Hey, and and it reminds you, remember how in the 9/11 attacks, we had the guy right after I think the second plane hit. He's on video explaining how the trusses melted and the temperature was sufficient to bring down all the wait, I mean, did he was he simply planted there? I mean, these people are there, you can imagine that these people are there guide these ideas.
You heard from John?
I'm doing my show, honey. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Somebody calling down to me, interrupting my big time show here. I'm trying to find if I can see that interview. Go ahead and talk. I'm trying to see if I can find that interview with her.
Right. One thing I do want to say about Candace, I want to salute Candace. I don't think she's great when it comes to technical things. I mean, she's still talking about the carotid artery, being cut, which, of course, it wouldn't have been the carotid artery, But anyway, she is an absolute genius when it comes to reading between the lines of human interaction. And I had a friend in Silicon Valley, a software engineer. Brilliant guy. He described the a woman's antenna for communication, even in a large group of people, as being like the antennae on top of a aircraft carrier conning tower, and and a man's antenna as being like a rusty coat hanger in an old used car, and so, but I mean, she can absorb from these conversations who, what, where, and why they would have been saying that, and why they shouldn't have been saying that, and what it could possibly mean. So she really is invaluable in that regard. Because if it was just a bunch of gumshoe detectives like us, or like work for the FBI, we wouldn't solve that level of explanatory mystery in these kind of cases.
Yeah, I can't. As I suspected, they must have. Anyway, I can't find it with the search on there, but it's if you can, I have to go find her name again. But Candace Owens played it on her show. Again, she didn't stress enough. She did say that she was smiling, but it was ridiculous how she was smiling. And you can see when you see that, talking about what we saw in other witnesses and other events, and why people started thinking these things were fake. It's largely because of the ridiculous witnesses, because they don't make any sense.
Do you think it could just be attention seekers?
Well, sure, possibly, but I mean, but we see the same thing in, like, in the case of Parkland. One of the people they scrubbed her. It was a blonde-haired girl who was a student there, unless they just lied and made it up, who just was had literally just gone through a shooting at school, and was like nothing had happened, kind of easygoing, and just matter of factly talked about walking after the shooting next to the alleged shooter and saying, "Yeah, I thought it was you." Like, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. It's ridiculous. And then they got rid of her quickly because she was too ridiculous. But it goes back, go gab. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Forgive me.
No. Go ahead. I'm just kind of rambling.
Yeah, and and then there was that shooting in Connecticut. School shooting. I mean.
Yes, exactly. Which I need to do another show on, because I mean that's and unfortunately, again, and that's the dangerous thing about all this, when people, whatever Alex Jones's role was, and he probably was involved in some kind of way, because I don't know what was going on there, but he was them setting the precedent. Now they can theoretically they could come and prosecute people for questioning Charlie Kirk's assassination, because they've set the precedent. Any of these things, and you're the family. Erica Kirk can claim she's feeling harassed, and she already is doing that. They're claiming she's being harassed, and in the case of her, there really are. They're saying that. What is she? Yeah, and what does she say in the letter other than what's the letter about?
It's about donating.
Oh, okay, so it's just a donation letter.
Yeah,
but you're saying they know where you are, yeah, and that's the scary thing, is that We know they don't want us questioning things, and
I mean, there's no reason. I am not involved in any way in these kind of evangelical things. I knew nothing, really, very little about Charlie Kirk. I wouldn't be on any kind of lists,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I want to, because what we usually do in the second half of the show, I usually drop the link in the chat, and anybody that wants to come in and join and can ask on video or audio and ask questions or comments. But before we do that, I want to discuss a little bit. I was fascinated when you just kind of told me in email that you had communicated with Derek Chauvin, the officer that was involved in the George Floyd incident. So how did you, were you shocked when he answered you? I mean, he apparently answered you several times, right?
Well, I've had about 200 communications with him, both prison email and telephone calls.
Well, describe how that started. I mean, I would be shocked if he got back to me.
Of course, I won't, reveal anything that we discussed.
Right.
And this, in fact, he was supposed to send me some evidence. He said he was going to send me some evidence. This was over Thanksgiving weekend. And that's the weekend in which we're told he was stabbed at the copying machine in the library. So, yeah, that was, I mean, my goal was to be supportive of him. I did that Substack article, more than one. And I did one. My first one involved a speculation of a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist and who does forensic work. I don't know that he's a forensic psychiatrist as a shingle that he hangs out, but he does forensic work. And he speculated that George Floyd had acromegaly, the same disease that Abraham Lincoln had. And there should have been some things that would stand out in an autopsy, and there were some things in the autopsy and some things that begged for another analysis, really. So George Floyd was an ill man, physically ill. And I'd have to go back and review it. I had some discussions with anesthesiologists about, his care in the emergency room. And it also, very significantly, it looks like there was a significant delay in the application of a chest compression device in the ambulance. And I think that people would like to somewhat shield the ambulance personnel because they struggled to get that device working. When in fact, if they couldn't get it attached to the gurney, they should have just started manual chest compression.
Well, what? Just real quick though, and I understand you can't reveal any maybe personal information from it, but I assume you approached him as you said, you were sympathetic to him and maybe thought he was treated unfairly and he didn't, shouldn't have been convicted of murder or gone to prison. So do you think were you shocked when he answered? Do you think he answered you because maybe he isn't getting much support and he's not getting that, and so he's happy to correspond with someone who supported him?
I had a chain of a couple people who were able to pass along my request and sort of verify who I was. I do believe that my analysis of the physics of Officer Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck is definitive proof that did not kill. George Floyd.
Mhm.
I really believe that, and I think that it's good physics, it's good anatomy. Now there was, as a doctor, Pierre Corey, who is kind of the advocate of the ivermectin thing during the COVID days, which, by the way, I appreciate.
Mm.
But he supplied a either amicus brief or, as I recall, he supplied maybe expert testimony claiming that Chauvin was guilty, basing it on chest compression.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that if I can get the time and resources, I can counter that. Yeah, but
And
there's a question of the approach that Chauvin's new attorney took, and I don't know how much I want to get into that. But
no, we don't get. I just find it a little interesting that very interesting that you corresponded with him, and of course, Candace Owens made a film about it, and she was one of the first ones to publicize it. And my friend Miriam Hynam, the B lady, has also written a book that's gotten a lot less attention about the George Floyd thing. So certainly far more there than meets the eye.
And I would love to. I've tried. I would love to communicate with Candace about it, but she doesn't. She's never responded to me.
Yeah, she didn't respond to me. The guy I had what I thought was a surefire thing of interest. I had God, I'm forgetting his name. God, he was a flat earther. But she doesn't know he's a flat earther, I don't think. But he did a lot of the same kind of research I did, and he ended up dying in the hospital from COVID protocol, just like my brother did. And so I had his widow on the show, and then I found out, she was talking about this guy on her show, and a lot. And so I had his widow on the show, who ended up, I found out, subsequently dying later herself, and I still don't know how. And so I thought Candace might be interested in knowing that, and she didn't reply. Very disappointed, but I guess they say that they maybe get back to people, but I don't know. I'm sure they get a lot of emails, and sometimes you wonder if you have to know them to get them to respond.
Yeah, and I made a pitch. You can find it in my Substack. I made a pitch for her to have E. Michael Jones on, which she did.
Yeah.
So, although I think that one's behind a paywall, so I don't have any record of, because I generally don't do paywalls.
Yeah, boy, he's gotten a lot of attention since since this whole Zionism thing came out there, and it's fair, things that we were never allowed to be discussed before are suddenly fair game. So E. Michael Jones would have been persona non grata. He is wasn't he? He was with Jason Whitlock. I don't think Tucker had him, did he? But Flatliner says they're all actors. Well, you can't.
You mentioned something that before I forget. So at this Butler event,
yeah,
Candace has been raising an interesting question recently about Corey Comparatore.
Yes,
the fireman that was volunteer fireman that was shot, and he has this link. It's a tenuous link, I guess, but he was high school friends with a fellow who died 2 years earlier, who worked at a company that dealt with PETN products, the explosive material.
I saw her report on that. That was really interesting.
Yeah, and also a PETN factory blew up, I think killing 16 people. Mm-hmm. Just a few days after the Kirk killing.
Yeah, very, and again, you don't want to say anybody didn't die. Or not saying anything like that. People got in trouble with Sandy Hook. I don't know what happened in these cases, but I do know the only thing I noticed about Comparatore, however you pronounce his name, I saw one thing online where they showed a picture of his fireman's jacket.
Yeah,
and his name was on the back, and it was misspelled. I mean, is that possible? I mean, wouldn't you complain? I mean, wouldn't they redo it? I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, hell, I wrote a foreword to a book by John Barber that they misspelled my name. So I guess it's possible, but
right.
very strange. But I'm going to put this.
Your name is misspellable.
Oh yeah, they always put the extra E in the middle constantly. So I still do. Yeah.
When I worked I started working for the government. I got. There was an adjustment period where the regulated community would send in, their reports to me. And what one fellow spelled it. Of course, I got a number of people that would.
Well, yeah, yours kid. I'm sure they put a D in there and everything. Yeah.
But the most offensive though was the guy that sent it in and said Dr. Shrimp.
You know what? All right, I'm gonna put the.
Okay.
I'm putting the link in here, guys. Okay, so you know the routine. So hopefully we'll get some people jumping on. Bronx Hopper says, "You allowed to hold firearms on YouTube live streams? I have a few Mausers that I could show." Sure. Bronx Hopper, I don't think there's any rule against you. I mean, it's a legal firearm. I don't know why you would. As far as I'm concerned, you can. So sure, jump on it because the Mauser means a lot to me because the Mauser. Again, I know nothing about guns, but I do know that the two officers that found the rifle on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building, Eugene Boone and Seymour Weitzman, who later wound up in a mental institution, he was driven crazy from it. They both signed sworn affidavits to the fact that it was a German Mauser, when in fact it was an Italian Carcano, supposedly. So when I hear Mauser, I think of that, and I thought, I don't know if maybe that was an inside joke here to the conspirators, but certainly got my attention. Yeah, so the link is in there, so anybody wants to jump in and have any questions or comments for David Schmitt or me.
What's his question? I suppose this guy thinks Oswald shot JFK.
Yeah, somebody obviously misread you in the beginning. So people they're always anxious to jump on my guess because I've had a few people here that I didn't necessarily know. I guess I didn't vet them well enough when they got on, and so it wasn't quite what I expected.
I don't care.
I trust people generally. I think if people are interested in me, they're probably going to have the same, generally skeptical view about things.
Well, there's no reason why anyone. I mean, this is a critical point. I don't expect somebody to say that because I said it, it proves it. I mean, I'm just all I do is ask questions. That's if any,
That's all we can do. Yeah, it's all I do, and I observe, make observations, ask questions because I'm no expert. I'm no investigator. But you ask the questions that make sense and you observe things. So when especially now in the age we live in, back when the JFK assassination was harder because, people that were adults then or old enough to look at it they didn't have much. They had, kind of grainy film. They couldn't, freeze frame anything. They had no videotape and they had to kind of, maybe they could catch it. And they weren't generally as skeptical back then. So they didn't think they were being lied to. But by the time you come around now, anything that happens, we're going to assume I'm going to assume I'm being lied to. And I just assume it's a lie until they somehow prove it's the truth. And I haven't seen them telling the truth about anything.
Don, one thing and COVID has helped, by the way. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
COVID has helped break our spell of trusting doctors and experts, etc.
Yeah.
During that Las Vegas massacre, I recorded, I re-recorded the audio from that taxi driver. She was down underneath a overhead and at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and she was talking with her dispatcher, and it made a recording. So I analyzed. So I'm right because my background was recording from nerve cells. I know a little bit about signal processing. So I analyzed that audio, and you can see quite clearly there's more than one shooter. You look at that burst pattern, there is more than one shooter.
Yeah.
And you can also see, which I was able to do, and I'm not an audio expert, not like Jason Goodman, but you can see that when the helicopters go between Mandalay Bay and that pyramid-shaped hotel, whatever the name of that is, you can see that the gunfire just ends. It disappears. And also you can link it to the rotor frequencies, that top rotor and the stabilizing rotor in the back of the helicopter. These are things that can be done. This was not what they had hoped for when they had the days of the Zapruder film. So we have much more power now. But also notice, Don, they are trying to rob us of the power to use our computers this way. They're robbing us of the ability to store data on our own. They want us to upload it to a cloud. And all of these tools whereby one could do scientific investigations on one's own are now being essentially captured.
Well, they hate the idea of the internet, and they hate what we're doing now. They hate the idea that you can just use a little laptop and a microphone and your internal camera, whatever, or webcam, and produce some kind of show and draw some kind of audience and try to influence people and give them a different version of what they're looking at. Because if you turn on any television station or even the big podcasts, they're only going to go so far, but here, anything goes on this show. Like the guy said, and I hope you come on. I'd love to see you holding Mausers. I don't see any reason why you couldn't hold a gun on camera. As long as you're not threatening to kill somebody. I mean, even that, I'm not going to take any responsibility for it. I'm not. But
I've seen plenty of demonstrations already on YouTube with trying to take apart the Mauser. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's, and so, but and Substack is really just the biggest blog. A great blog, and I used to write on WordPress, and they hate blogs. I remember there was a woman testifying several years ago in Congress, and again, they can't stand the idea of the common riffraff, the unwashed masses, getting on there and making their observations, concluding things, speculating, theorizing, without being able to sift through the experts or the FCC. They want an FCC for the internet. That's what they really want, and they can't do it. So they opted to put these restrictions on social media, which have worked pretty well, but it still hasn't stopped this stuff. We can still do this, at least for now. Let's hope we still can. But they hate this because this is real free communication here. This is not FCC controlled. Anybody can say anything they want that comes on here. I'm a free speech purist. I don't censor anything. And YouTube has gotten better. They used to take my channel down all the time. They haven't lately. So YouTube, I hope you continue to do that. My hat's off to you.
And, during the COVID, I mentioned this to you in my email. During COVID, I was doing these podcasts with Joe Atwell about the COVID and also the vaccine. And I got debanked. I got a letter from my bank. It came on a Friday. By the way, it was dated for Friday. And I had until Tuesday to get all my money out at the bank.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know? And so I was just trying to start my, presumed podcast career. And it made my life hell in so many ways for months. I will tell you that it was always COVID that got it yanked. So I may have to take this off YouTube and put it on Rumble, but it is what it is. We got Bronx Stopper in here. I think this is. You're the Mauser guy, right, Bronx Stopper? Can you hear me, Bronx Stopper? Bronx Stopper, you're looking good there, buddy. Can you hear me? We see you.
There we go.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. As soon as you added me to the show, everything started swirling and I couldn't hear anything. So
Yeah.
Okay, but now you can. Well, good to see you. You
Yep.
were the Mauser guy, right?
Yeah, that
Cool.
was me.
Let's
So,
see this
let's
first time,
see.
ladies and gentlemen. Let's see how you do it.
So I'm not touching it, YouTube, but this is
Yeah.
a sporterized Mauser, which is what they said was used.
Okay.
So the only way to take that apart is to pop that screw out and that screw out, and all that'll do is separate the wood from this. You have to have a vise and a wrench to be able to separate that barrel.
Yeah.
And there's
Difficult
no way
task.
that would fit where they say it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a different sporterized Mauser from 1918. Is a previous model. I can't remember exactly which model they said he used, but what makes it sporterized is that the stocks are cut down. Now, a non-sporterized rifle, which this is not a Mauser, this is a Springfield, but a traditional Mauser would have wood all the way up to a stacking lug and a bayonet lug, which is right here.
Mhm.
But this gun does have a Mauser action, which that's just the German manufacturer that made them or whatever. But all the guns are the same. You've got to be able to pop those screws out, and all you can do is separate the stock from the barrel and the action. So there's no way that it would fit into a backpack or a pants leg or anything like that, like all that stuff. And you know, they said that Mauser was rechambered into a 30-06, which this Mauser from 1918 is chambered in 8mm. A lot of the Mausers were 7 and 8mm. This one was rechambered to 270. But there's two common 30-06 rounds. The full metal jacket and the most common hunting round that's used in the United States. And that's why I knew the official story was bullcrap from day one, is because what those rounds do, no way.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't even an exit wound. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, was that Mauser that they showed us supposedly in the woods? Because I thought I had somewhere in my mind that it was his grandfather's old Mauser.
Yeah.
But that looked like a plastic stock.
Right. They do make modern stocks that you can put on those guns.
Now, but would that have been his grandfather's?
It could have been, but I mean, like Mausers are still made today. Like you can buy a brand new Mauser, custom made.
But what? Why don't we see an old Woodstock Mauser in the woods?
Right, and that's what I put in the chat earlier. Is I don't know how true it is, but I'd heard that like the local police department had ran through with bomb dogs,
right,
and they went right past where that gun was found.
Right.
And a bomb dog would have picked up on a recently fired gun, because there's many soldiers from GWAT that said that they would go in looking for IED makers and clear a house, not find anything, but the dog would hit on a rug. They would open it, trap door, 20 feet down below would be bomb making supplies, and that dog could pick it up.
Now,
yet they're saying that these dogs couldn't find a gun that had been fired within hours.
Initially, I questioned, why it was in a box, and somebody responded. This is back in September, that it could be that. It's standard procedure for the FBI to put a box under the evidence to make it more visible.
Right, and I've only seen that one photo, whether that was leaked or whatever that was, but there's also there's no evidence markers. Usually they'll throw something down in there to show like scale and everything in evidence photos. So that actually could be just a stock photo that some journalist put in an article. I've heard that option as well.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's what's fascinating, because we're told just to you saw what Bronx Sniper gave a wonderful video demonstration of what these weapons look like and what would be entailed to take them apart. Now we're told, as I understand it, that Tyler Robinson walked into the place with the gun stuck in his pants leg, and I think it was disassembled. And then he scaled the roof, got up to the roof somehow with this big weapon in his pants, and assembled it up there. then shot, then disassembled it, I think, again before he jumped down, and then assembled it again in the woods. I don't know. It's 3 or 4 times. Do you guys know what the thing was? That's what I'd heard.
Well, I know that there was one report that like the governor or something did at the press conference when Kash Patel was there and all that. And they're saying now that he didn't actually have the full story. And he kind of said that he had disassembled and assembled more times than what they actually think. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the security footage of him jumping off the roof, like I don't see a rifle, like, and I don't see a disassembled rifle or anything.
I know I'm not jumping off a roof with a rifle stuck in my face. Something's going to go wrong.
No. And Don, did you see that other comment that I put in the chat? Like I haven't seen this. I've just seen it online. So take it with a shovel of salt. But
what was that? I might have missed
about the timestamps on the Discord messages that went to Twigs. Supposedly they were already sent after Tyler had already entered the sheriff's office to turn himself in.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he apparently he figured out that he was being framed, and he got his rear end to the police station ASAP.
That's what it seems like.
to forestall all that
and that's
or to kill him. Or to kill him when he stepped out the door.
And that's another thing that leads us down the rabbit hole in all of these incidents. So we're going back at least to Sandy Hook. We have these timestamp problems where researchers on the internet find that things happened before they could have. Memorial funds were set up before, or things were tweeted out before something happened. I mean, in every one of these cases, maybe they're all bullshit. I don't know. What do you guys know about that? That's what this seems to be, though.
Well, I mean, how did we reserve that stadium in Arizona for the big Fandango funeral? How did we reserve that and get that all put together so fast?
Yeah, I used to manage a lot smaller facility, and we pretty much had our schedule set out at least 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah,
you would have to hit just perfect in an empty weekend. For something like that to be able to kick off.
Insurance and catering. Yeah. Well, yeah.
There's so many things you can question. There's so many things you can question. Bronx Stopper, you have you have kind of a law enforcement look. Are you law enforcement?
No. I'm a farm manager. I run a grass-fed beef operation.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
no, but I definitely I've done a lot with some ex-military guys, and I've taken several classes and do a little bit of competing, but I wouldn't call myself a competitor.
Well, it's easy to I know nothing about guns other than what I've learned basically was studying the JFK assassination. That's the only thing I know about any of this stuff. But otherwise, I wouldn't.
Can I ask, because I think we have similar timelines. I was in first grade when the JFK assassination occurred.
Yeah, I was second grade. Yep.
So you had a little bit more cognitive power going on there, but already another grade level. But this has really defined my life, and also I grew up in Pittsburgh, so. That was where the Allegheny County coroner was
Cyril Weck. Yeah, I had Cyril Weck on the show before he died years ago. Yeah, He didn't like me until I told him I'd been a student volunteer, teenage volunteer for Mark Lane, and then he started liking me. Then it was cool that he loved Mark Lane.
He was an arch Democrat. He was an arch Democrat. He always kind of protected. I think. Didn't he kind of protect
Arlen Specter? He was. He knew those guys. And we had the fighting Canadian, R.B. Ham, is up there. The trucker.
How you doing?
It was in the convoy. How you doing, R.B.? What's going on? How's the Great White North?
Oh, it's summertime here. So you just had Canada Day on July 1st. Tomorrow's July 4th. Happy 250th.
Oh, it's really hot here. Let me tell you, we're hitting about 100 again here.
Yeah, Don Jeffries and Sleeman Sewer, our friend, the professor, is going to be coming on my podcast tomorrow night to be talking about America's 250th birthday. We'll be talking about the promise and the betrayal.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to bring that up because Don says he doesn't remember this, but I remember 50 years ago during the bicentennial in 1976, up here in Canada anyway, the bicentennial celebration was everywhere. It was in comic books. It was everything. The founding fathers front and center. Nobody talked about any bad things about America.
No,
then.
not then. No.
Everything was great. The founding fathers are wonderful. They didn't even bring up that they owned slaves. They never even talked about that back in those days. Now, fast forward 50 years later, and people are approaching America 250 with complete, almost complete like absence of thought, if not trepidation, if not
no action. Well, look at it. I mean, I don't, you know, I have no love for Trump anymore, but I think it's really sad that he set up whatever that state fair was supposed to be. And nobody goes to it. I mean, there's literally nobody there. I mean, I don't know what that means.
The rodeo stands were full the other day.
Oh, were they? Okay, well, good.
Yeah. My brother-in-law is riding in that. He's one of the guys that's part of that rodeo deal that's going on, and he posted a photo of the stands right ahead of the rodeo.
Okay, we got somebody else.
Packed. Now, granted, you know, it's just a handful of bleachers, so it might have only been 500 people, but you know, it's still a pretty good turnout.
Hey, Don, good to be with you again, buddy.
Hey, Yona, the New Prisoners Network. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you again, Don. I think the last time I was hanging out with you, we had Tony and Billy Ray were hanging out, maybe.
Okay, anyway. Well, yeah, I think you might have been on an American Plug, I think, weren't you, as a special guest or something?
Yeah, and I've been on with RB before, our Canuckastani friend there.
Oh, RB, you know Yona?
I think I was on with him once on one year call.
Yeah, that's what I recall.
Oh, okay.
Hey, how's it going up there, buddy?
Pretty good. Hanging in there anyway. Going back to work this week, so.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, the recovery time is over.
Am I supposed to put a hat on?
What's that?
Am I supposed to put my cowboy hat on?
Yeah, no. No, I don't. I just have headphones.
You got a hat on too, Bronk? Is everybody watching?
Well, I don't know. RB went off camera, so I don't remember if he had a hat on or not.
RB did, I think. I never did.
David's covered though. David's got glasses on his head, and Don's got the headphones on, so we're good. We've all got headgear.
Yeah, you know, and I have a prejudice against hats because I don't know why, but I remember JFK hated hats.
Right.
And maybe because I worshipped him, you know, if you look at it, you know, the breakfast, the Fort Worth breakfast where he is, you know, basically LBJ smiling in the background. It's like an hour to that he's going to be killed. And they hand him the Texas hat. We did not want you to go back empty-handed to Washington, D.C. So we got a little something for you. And he said, you come to the White House on Monday and I'll put it on for you there. But he wouldn't put it on. That's why he was so different than most politicians. Most politicians can't wait to sit some stupid hat on their head, you know, but not him. So maybe I got that from him. I don't know.
I think I could have gotten JFK to wear a hat, but it would have had to have been made out of real ivory and scrimshawed really nicely for him to have worn it. That was his weak spot, Don. He loved the scrimshaw ivory. If you know JFK, you know JFK, Don. Anyhow.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Yana?
Well, I must say so far I've not heard many glorious things out of Washington, D.C. as we're about to celebrate our sesquicentennial, I think.
Yeah.
That's you got to love these Roman number words. But anyhow, you know, just a few months ago, there was the largest known sewage leak or raw sewage spill in U.S. history occurred on the Potomac River when the District of Columbia sewer had a major, I think it was a 48-inch sewer main rupture right by the C&O Canal, and it just poured right into the Potomac, and I think it ran open sewage, raw sewage down the Potomac for about 2 months and then Trump got the what's that called between the Washington and the reflecting pool.
Oh, yeah.
Had the reflecting pool job done, and then of course it's already gotten the.
And hey, they finally made an arrest today. I tweeted about it today. They got the guy that apparently desecrated the new paint job on the reflectable. So they are draining the swamp. They went after a big criminal. They got the former Marine that did that. So rest assured, everything's cool.
Well, I know they kind of set up a Ferris wheel, and we're going to have like a little bit of a soiree, like America's Fair or something, and then it got shut down apparently, and so I don't know what's going on with that pomp and circumstance. It just seems like
the state fair. We were talking about nobody's been there. There's nobody there.
It just seems to me like, the old turn of the phrase, Don, panem et circenses, bread and circus games. It used to be at the very least the hoi polloi, the huddled masses of the useless eaters, like most of us. We were at least given opportunity for bread and some gladiator games. But I mean, if you look at the World Cup tournament for soccer that's taking place primarily in the U.S., although there's a few sites in Canada and Mexico, the ticket prices and a hotel and everything. I mean, it just seems like the days of, Yona or Don or any of us being able to go out and get a hot dog and take in a baseball game. I mean, nothing is really affordable anymore. I mean, the idea of having a vacation long ago in America was replaced with the new term called staycation, because you can't afford to travel.
That's right.
Afford tickets to the theater or the rock concert or the sports game. And I'm not trying to be a party pooper. I'm just saying bread and games in the United States anymore is something for those that can afford it.
I did see, because I'm looking at seeing if there's going to have any documentaries. 250th anniversary is a big deal. The History Channel on July 4th is running a marathon of World War II documentaries. So I mean, this is you figure. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I mean, but that's that's what they do. RB, are they paying more attention to our big 250th up there in Canada? Are they paying attention to it at all, or what?
Oh, a little bit on here and there sort of thing. They kind of allude to it, but nobody's taking any. It's not like it was 50 years ago. I'm telling you that it was everywhere then. Even here in Canada, it was everywhere.
Bicentennial coins. Remember the bicentennial quarters?
Yeah,
you guys probably remember
that. I've still got a bicentennial quarter.
Yeah, I think I do too, probably. Yeah.
But I mean, you couldn't read a comic book. Dennis the Menace would have a whole comic book dedicated to the 200 to 100. In the episode, Dennis the Menace goes back in time somehow, and Benjamin Franklin takes him on a tour, Philadelphia and everything during the Constitutional Convention. Remember, they had PSA announcements on NBC, ABC, CBS during kids programming, and they take a 2 or 3 minute section out.
Oh, yeah, bicentennial moment. I think didn't they have another bicentennial. They had that, bicentennial. Yeah, I'm remembering now.
And there's the kids growing up then were way more educated on the founding of the country of the United States of America than they are now. Now it's like an afterthought, and it's more like they're just trying to ignore that this is the 250th, because I think in the consensus mind, in the zeitgeist, it's become, well, at the 200th anniversary, the American experiment was considered a success. Now at 250, it's considered a failure, so they don't want to bring it up.
Yeah. You're right.
It's no longer a representative democracy. You live in an oligarchy controlled by the wealthy. All the promise of the, of a government by the people and for the people and of the people is gone.
I think that really, to get right at the heart of the matter, the intention here is to dismantle the notion of European Americanism and everything that surrounds it.
Sure.
And all our institutions have been permeated our churches. I can attest to having been a government worker. There was a palpable change when Obama came in. In fact, my managers knew. I could tell they knew Obama was getting in. It was a done deal.
Well, in fact, Obama's campaign won awards for marketing.
Yeah.
That his campaign, because of the charisma and the language. And of course, as you know, David, it was just more of the old okey doke because he's the one that signed that NDAA of 2012 that has that terrible Section 1021, which allowed the President of the United States by whim and mood change alone to uncitizen any American he considers a threat. I mean, that's literally the king saying off with his head. I mean, and then you look at the Hamdam decision that was handed down from SCOTUS over the Guantanamo torture prisoners that are secret little military base in Cuba. And, this is from Obama, who's supposed to be Mr. Harvard Law School professor. And so, what we were sold and what we actually got was a real bait and switch, David.
And recall, I think it was on the eve of his re-inauguration or re-election. I think he was speaking in Chicago. And he said, well, it's payback time.
Huh.
I take him seriously when he says it's payback time. And it was.
I mean, who can forget when Obama cracked his infamous joke at the Nerd Prom, a.k.a. White House Correspondents' Dinner, when the two Jonas brothers were in attendance?
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah.
My daughters, Sasha and Malia, are big fans, Jonas brothers. But hey, boys, don't you get any ideas. I got 2 words for you. Predator drones. You'll never see them coming. And it was hilarious because it had already come out in the news that he had been summarily executing and assassinating American citizens without charge, arraignment, trial, due process. And when they were challenged in the federal courts, they went to the NDAA of 2012, Section 2021, which, a journalist and author, Christopher Lynn Hedges, Chris Hedges had a suit and pushed against it. And, there were people that fought this, but I think a lot of it more is coming out to light.
No, well, yeah, I think, and he was really good at killing people, as he said too. But I think, and that's why when Trump came into office, it was right for that, because after the disastrous Clinton, Bush, Obama, people were ready for something like Trump, and he had all the great rhetoric, and so I guess it's appropriate that he's the president again during the 250th anniversary, and he can't even get a fair going or whatever. He can't get anybody to perform. He can't get. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, because it's
rather pathetic.
He wanted to have pomp and circumstance, and I guess they're not going to have it. I don't know, unless people are going to show up at the last. But you think there would be something spectacular, but I don't know what's planned.
I put a link in the private
national
chat, Don.
What's that?
Well,
I put a link in the private chat.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Don, I hope you haven't already forgotten about Trump's glorious military parade he had just barely 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what your fellow's politics is or not. It really is not important to me. But for me, it is disappointing that what I had hoped for, because I worked hard in my own little sphere of newsletter and stuff like that. I worked hard for Donald Trump to get him elected all 3 times. I think he was elected 3 times. And what I see is something happened in Butler, and he changed. And or even if maybe that was always his stripe, maybe it was just destined, and he just came out of the closet at that point. But he has thrown away anything that he can do domestically in terms of
he's it. Tulsi Gabbard's gone, who was one of the I thought, bright spots. RFK Jr. is still getting on TV and talking about how great the IDF is. It's just he's Rabbi Shmuley's behind him. It's so sad. Doge is not there, but I wanted to let me see what I'm going to share this.
Well, you mentioned RFK, Don. We went from Make America Healthy Again to RFK trying to convince us that Bayer Monsanto's glyphosate Roundup product is perfectly fine.
And he just did that because Trump is always went against him, and so he has to. I mean, does he need a job that bad? I don't know. This is the video we were talking about. This is that's the Great American State Fair. Okay, tremendous amount of enthusiasm. Let's see. Well, there's some people there. I mean, I'm not sure how many. I still don't know it's that many, but it's kind of hard. But certainly, there's a crowd. But if you still say there's some grass beyond there, but nothing like what his rallies normally were. But if you see the, that's cool. I appreciate that. If you see the, the state fair scenes, and they've shown all that. I don't think they're fake. It's literally maybe a handful of people. I mean, it's just astonishing to me, and I think Trump is still saying they're big crowds or something. But yeah, because
the National Weather Service forecast tomorrow. I'm in West Virginia, just a few hours to the west of the District of Columbia.
Okay, yeah,
and the National Weather Service has already issued a severe thunderstorm warning and a 2 out of 5 risk for tornadoes on the ground in DC and Northern Virginia tomorrow on July the 4th. So I don't know. Apparently it's
no cookouts
on Trump's parade, Don.
no cookouts. Bronx Stopper, what do you have to say? You haven't said anything for a while. I'm going to give you a chance to say something.
I was going to say, I haven't talked to Jeff, the promoter putting that rodeo on, or my brother-in-law that's up there, but I know several people that are there. At least the rodeo's getting a decent crowd every day. Yeah. Now, that's only 2 hours out of the whole day. So I don't know what's going on with the rest of it, but at least I know that they're getting a decent amount of crowds there. And I don't know, I don't really believe a lot of Fox stuff, but but Fox has been pushing it all week and everything. They've done a couple interviews with guys that are, they're not really competing. It's more of a showcase type deal that they're doing.
Well, if Trump was really this patriotic, what he sells himself as, and if the Republicans were an antidote to the crazy woke Democrats, you'd be seeing a lot of stuff with the theme of the founding fathers and the war for independence, and they stay away from that. The last thing they wanted the people to get ideas about, oh yeah, that's right, this country was founded because we overthrew tyranny. They might get some ideas, and you don't want to read the Declaration of Independence. I'm writing about it on Substack now, but I love quoting from it because it says very clearly where the people grow tired of the form of government, they have the right to alter or abolish it. Very clearly.
And about that quadruple threat of heat, severe thunderstorms, possible tornado on July 4th in Washington, we know through the HARP array system that they can move the weather around if they want. So in other words, they want extreme heat. They want nobody showing up for the July 4th.
Yes, they do.
Hey, to hit on what Yona was talking about with Maha stuff and all that, June 12th, I got to be part of a roundtable with the Undersecretary of Agriculture for this whole regenerative grant program that they're putting out there, which was kind of disappointing because they've put all this money out. It's like $100 billion, which 700 billion is for payouts, or sorry, 700 million is for payouts, and then 300 million is for instruction type stuff or whatever. However, they've got it split. But they don't even have a clear definition of regenerative. So this whole 700 million is going to get picked up by people that are not truly regenerative farming. And I don't understand why it's such a difficult thing, because there's third-party systems out there that certify farms as regenerative right now that have standards. Like when we got certified, they were out here for 2.5 days taking soil samples in all of our farm, doing water infiltration tests, wildlife species counts, birds and other wildlife, as well as species counts in the field of different types of grasses and trees, and our management techniques and all that stuff. And it's a tiered system. I mean, the main one that's doing it's Regenified. So they have a 5-tiered system. So, and they work with you and teach you how to do all that stuff. So essentially, if you just say, I want to be more regenerative, you can kind of get in at level 1, and they'll work with you to reduce your chemical dependence and your fertilizer dependence and all that stuff. But they're not cutting any of the subsidies that they've been putting in since World War I, when we had the Green Revolution and all the explosion manufacturers started making ammonium nitrate fertilizer instead of ammonium nitrate gunpowder. And then we had the Green Revolution here, so we were supplying all of Europe with their ag resources until they got back on their feet.
That's
Right around the time they got back on their feet, we had the Depression and the Dust Bowl and all that stuff. So they stepped in and, turned it was like a temporary fix to try to make things better, which we all know how that works with government or whatever. But they're still in place. I mean, yeah, FDR's law got overturned, but they're still paying people to grow certain crops or not to grow crops at all or destroy livestock.
And in Survival of the Richest, when I wrote a lot about Huey Long was ranting about that then in the 1930s. 90 years ago, they were doing this nonsense, paying people not to, and it's ridiculous. And what is I'm looking at the chat room. Everybody's hot all over the place. New Jersey, Kenny F. Paris is 122 heat index. In New Jersey, the lovely Angel Blue. Good to see you, Angel. Yes, watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Great movie. Hot as hell in Texas. Karen B. Look you all over. 20 cents is hot as hell in West Virginia, 95 degrees. And obviously it's hot in Northern Virginia. And now we have to worry about a tornado tomorrow. I don't remember a tornado threat on July 4th. But yeah, this extreme weather it plays to their advantage. And they love doing this kind of stuff. I mean, of course, it's going to be hot on July 4th, but to this point, I don't.
I put a link in the chat. You should play. It's about Donald Trump bragging about the insider information his sons get. Insider trading is okay now as long as it's his kids. It's in the private.
Let me see here. Let me put that up here.
Yeah, and then take a listen. It's hilarious.
Okay, hold on. Let me share the screen here.
So I was asking Don while he's looking for that. I was asking Don about when he was going through school relative to the JFK history. And here, these were, when I was in high school, that's when the bicentennial was occurring. 70s, in the 70s.
Yeah.
And AP history, these are more recent books, but these are the books we were reading in AP history. There's notes on the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could even teach
those
classes today.
They would not. I don't think one in 100 students could even read those books now. Let's play this.
I must say, Don, with this 250th anniversary, it's a lamentable shame that we're not casting more of a spotlight on the history of Paul Revere and the Green Dragon.
Yes, that's what this should all be about. Yes.
At one time, there was a political movement called the Boston Tea Party.
Exactly. What happened to that?
And now they're like just staying away from all of it. I mean, at least you guys are noticing, because I sure am.
Well, there's a great, I love Andy Griffith. It's still my favorite show. And one of the episodes, they talk about what it was like then, because Opie and his friends aren't interested in history. So Andy gets them interested by talking about Paul Revere. They fired a shot heard all around the world, the Minutemen and all that stuff. And you're right. As a little kid, I first became interested in history with this period of time. I used to get so good. The Tea Party, that just seemed like such a cool thing. Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, meeting in pubs, Sons of Liberty and stuff like just. The words of the Declaration of Independence. And you're right. They're not going to pay attention because they don't want people to concentrate on
my life. That gave me an entire lifelong love and pursuit of history, because these were profiles in courage.
Yes, they were.
histories of the true founding of our country by verified patriots. And so it's really astonishing to me that that's not at the forefront of
Absolutely.
celebration, because that's really what the whole thing is about.
It should, but they want to avoid that. I'm going to play this video real quick here. Let me share this video here. Okay, here you go. Oh, I won't let me play it. Oh, it's going to make me log in. I can't do that because I never log in on X anymore because it'll. That's what happened the last time when I lost my account. Damn it!
Don't worry about it. But in there, he's talking about. He gets asked the question, "Don't you feel ashamed or whatever that your kids are making money off of insider information?" He goes, "No, that's how my kids make all their decisions. Even when they buy a truck because of insider information." You know?
Yeah. Everybody has insider information. That's what we all know that.
It's so funny.
We all take advantage of that. Yeah.
Openly admitting it. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. Yeah, because again, if you just I've talked before about how Hollywood, and I think I was the first one to mention it, but it took me a long. Hollywood has ignored the founding fathers and ignored it. If you look, there's never been any kind of a biography. Back in the golden age, they did not make any movie about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. They did make one about Hamilton, because even then they knew who they wanted to focus on, the banker's favorite founding father. That's why he's a Black Broadway star today. He's the only one that's not a dead white racist like the rest of them. But they didn't make any movies. They were making movies about kings and queens and Andrew Johnson, lots of stuff about Lincoln. They stayed away from the Revolution. Just look back. I'm a movie buff. And they're Howards of Virginia with Cary Grant was a decent movie about a fictitious character. But
actually, PBS did a pretty good documentary on John Adams a couple years ago.
Yeah, they did do it, and they once in a while they will, but it's so muted, and there's no big. You remember when Mel Gibson made The Patriot around late 90s, 2000? He caught a lot of hell for that, and it was just because he was portraying the British as the bad guys in the Revolution, and it's like, well, how dare you do that? And again, he had his kids fighting. The idea was that they were fighting for independence. They don't want people thinking that. I don't know what people think when they hear about the founding of the country, what they're thinking, but they don't want. Cary Grant was Lon Chaney's lover. I'm sorry, looking at the chat. I hope not, but
HBO, I haven't seen it, but they did one I think called Adams. It's like a mini series that I heard was good, but I haven't watched it.
I think that's what Darby Ham's talking about. Yeah.
Paul Giamatti was the.
Oh yeah,
Paul
that's the
Giamatti
same
played
one.
John Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some of that. Yeah, that was good. But
and the History Channel did one. I can't remember what it's called. It was about Washington's spy network or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a little docudrama type deal. I don't know how much historically accurate it was, but real documentaries. Yeah, there's. And even the Patriot is like 5 different guys put into one to create that character.
But you can tell the American Spy thing they wanted to put out was to inculcate into the minds of people that things like the CIA and all that are good. And even Washington had his own CIA guys.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly. And
it's
that's
really
why they
incredible to me how that Broadway musical
1776
whitewashing. I mean, well, it's not even a whitewashing. They just completely I don't know what Hamilton was supposed to be about, but Alexander Hamilton, to remind viewers and the audience, this guy had a plantation in the British Caribbean with slaves, and he read the tea leaves and knew it was time to get out. They already had the Somerset case in the British courts by 1807. They had their Slave Trade Act by 1833. It was they had the Abolition Act passed. So he fled to the Hamptons with his slaves and relocated his plantation close to the state that used to officially be known as the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation. So it's interesting to get this a half Hispanic, half Black guy to play him on a Broadway musical in New York, and all of a sudden it's cool, it's chic. He's not the guy that crammed the whiskey tax down our throats.
Sure, and he was an early day troll.
Yeah.
I wrote about this in American Memory Hole. He was portraying, just like you would do on the internet now. He was portraying a fictitious character and writing to newspapers and stuff to try to to manipulate events. Just a horrible guy. Ends his life being killed in a duel by Aaron Burr, the most famous victim of a duel. Most people don't know much about him until he comes in. And I would like to see a poll done of those idiotic people that went and paid whatever they paid to see Hamilton. I bet you there's a substantial number of people that actually think he was black. It wouldn't surprise me. It really would not. That's how dumb they are.
So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I worked in West Virginia, by the way, for a number of years.
Well, you've heard yins before, David. You know what yins means.
Yins, yeah. And there's also yuns.
That's right.
Yeah.
Depends on what part of the coal field you're in. Northern coal fields, yins. Southern coal fields is yuns. Anyhow, go ahead.
So, one of the things that got me interested in American history was we were not, of course, Pittsburgh has Fort Duquesne, Fort Pitt, Fort Duquesne, Fort Pitt, back and forth. So there's that history there. Then you have Fort Necessity. You have the National Road. So that part of the country is steeped in events and places that you can go that these people actually walked.
Yeah. I mean, George Washington started the whole war right there. George Washington started the war with the French and Indian War at the Battle of Monongahela, as you know.
And I think
Braddock died there.
I think what our movie makers don't like. Let's just take Fort Necessity. So you have Washington lining up, white guys on a shallow embankment. If you go there, you see it's about 1.5 feet tall, and the British and the Indians are shooting at them. The French and the Indians are shooting at them from the woods. But the problem for the movie maker is it's white guy against white guy.
Yeah.
And that's why you're also seeing in a lot of these recreations today complete demographic changes.
Helen of Troy looks totally
Black
different.
Vikings and stuff like that.
It's ridiculous.
So I think that's why it doesn't appeal to them, because they can't whip up some kind of story where they can beat us over the head.
No, and even the superhero stuff. The new Supergirl's lost tons of money because apparently she's an alcoholic and throws up all the time. It's like, what? Why would they think any audience? You're suspending your belief, obviously, to go see a superhero movie. Why would you want that? You want that? I mean, it's so stupid, and of course, it's very feminist and all that. It's just. What's the other new movie? Toy Story. Toy Story 5. Yeah, now it's apparently Woody's a cuck now, a wimp, and the female character runs. I don't know. To me, it's unbelievable they're still making them, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and it fits with the whole what I experienced in the bureaucracy was. Okay, so you have the problem. HR departments are 99.999% female.
Yes.
In the world. I don't care. Government, corporate, you name it. And the whole point is to promote a femocracy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are bully males there in place to take care of any kind of guy that gets out of line. Mm-hmm. But the rule is to shove it down the throats of any male in those organizations that the women rule. And what they're doing is they are a little biology here. They're sexually selecting for the beta male.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who's going to get to reproduce. That's the message. And they're gradually tightening the screw on enterprisers, ranchers, farmers, inventors,
Truck
Who-
drivers, that's our RB Ham. Yeah,
Who else are
they don't want any manly men like RB Ham anymore, do they?
yeah, podcasters. Anyway,
Yeah, no,
it's all toxic masculinity till the power goes out. You know, those toxic
Yeah.
blue collar men get the power turned back on.
right, exactly.
All the
No, yeah.
linemen and everybody else.
Yeah, that's what I say. RB Ham and I were talking about IQ the other day, and my IQ is very high. I would be worthless on a desert island. I can't fix it. I'd be complaining and telling you everything was wrong, but I wouldn't be able to do anything. They'd probably kill me, I guess. But I mean, you get your average redneck guy that maybe has a 90 IQ or something. I don't know. That's who you'd want there. That can fix shelter. That can go farm. So what's intelligence? What's value? I don't know. So we have to look at people, I think, differently, because a lot of people with really high IQs are not, good in any kind of situation like that. They're good at complaining and letting you know what's wrong, like Captain Obvious. But you need people that actually can do the stuff. But we're almost out of time. I want to make sure go around quick. Any of you guys have anything to promote? And I'll let David have the last word.
It's a really good point there, Don, because book sense and intellect, I think, without a real savoir-faire or street smarts or common sense to go with it is kind of useless. And so in my experience as a professional engineer and land surveyor in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, some of the smartest people that I rubbed elbows with, like faculty from the Speed Scientific School at the University of Louisville, is some of the dumbest people I ever met.
Yeah,
and yet some of the sharpest people I ever met are just like, cattle ranchers and farmers in the most rural parts of Spencer and Nelson County, Kentucky. But those guys could survive the apocalypse.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry. I want to go around and give everybody a chance.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bronx Stopper. Anything to promote or any last word?
No, I jump on podcasts every once in a while on Rumble and stuff like that, but I don't really have anything independent.
Thanks, brother. That was a great demonstration of the guns. RB Ham tomorrow night. We're going to be 10 p.m. on the RB Ham's Beyond the Pale Rumble channel. You can watch me and the great Salim Mansour, and we'll talk about this again. Anything else?
It's also on YouTube and X and Facebook and Kick and Bronx Stomper. I hope you watch the show tomorrow night and get in the chat and talk about.
What time is it?
10 o'clock Eastern time on Rumble or YouTube. Beyond the Pale with RB Ham, Don Jeffries, and Salim Mansour. We'll be in to have a great discussion about exactly what's going on with. We'll probably cover a lot of ground we talked today about America.
That's great. Hopefully the tornado won't destroy the East Coast here. But, David Schmitt, you were the. So thanks everybody for joining in.
By the way, I want to just mention David Schmitt's voice sounds a lot like White Wolf's. I was confused when I first started.
A little bit, yeah. White Wolf didn't jump in the chat. I'm surprised he wasn't here. I don't know. But
he was in there earlier.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised he didn't jump in. He usually jumps in the video. I don't know. Who knows? He might have accused you of thinking.
When I get a call from these what do you call them? Just advertisers. They always say, "Ma'am." They always call me.
No, they do. I get that. I got one yesterday. I said I don't even care. Apparently, my voice never changed. So I'm secure. It's all right.
Hey guys, let me shoehorn something in. I liked your comment, Yona, and about the engine. So this is cattle country right here. If I open this up, you got this. And at coffee shop every Saturday morning, the guys will talk about those damn engineers, and that make the tractors and things like that. But here's something I want to say. All of you guys are intelligent. Okay, you're intelligent. These guys that fix these tractors and seeders and all this, the drills. I mean, this takes brains to do it.
Yeah, they got valuable skill.
There's a point to be made, about egghead academics, like me. But also, I'd just like to say this: that academics at its best is what we needed
Right.
during. It's been taken over
Yeah.
by the Marxists.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I want to, because we're really out of time. We went over, but David, I want you to give out your links and everything. Oh yeah, give out your link to Yona and
my
then Dave.
channel on Rumble is called the Peasants Podcast, and I also am simulcast on the New Prisoners Network, as you can see next to my name, and New Prisoners TNT simulcast across Kick and all the other places. My music is available at Hyona, HIGHYONA, at bandcamp.com. And you'll sometimes catch Bronk and other guys on my show on Peasants Podcast, as well as our shows throughout the week on TMP, like Saturday Night Anarchy with Steve Poikonen and Tom Cooper and others. So thanks again for having me around. That's all I really got for you folks.
Thanks, Yona. Thanks for joining. David, make sure you give out all your links and everything, anything you want to promote. Thank you for being the guest, and we had all these guys join in. It was a great discussion.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys. America in Siberia, David Schmitt's newsletter on Substack. And then also, you can find the podcast link there, but it's what is it? I forget now. I forget the name of my podcast. Well, anyway, you can find the link right at Substack on American Siberia.
That's what happened. We're all losing our memories, and it happens. But anyway, thanks, David. I really appreciate it. To have you back.
I'd kick myself in the butt if I didn't say a shout out to the new number 6 and Headline USA with Ken Stelba and Jose.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Number 6, actually. All right, guys. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for everybody. Great discussion. Everybody joining in. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next week, same time on I Protest. Happy 4th of July. Take care.
Happy 4th.